The Carolina Hurricanes have dropped 3 straight games and are looking to bounce back tonight at home against the New Jersey Devils. Find out how they can do that in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Tuesday afternoon. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes and myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96 and subscribe to the show on YouTube. And in today's episode, folks, we will be previewing tonight's game against the New Jersey Devils, as well as getting to hear what Rod Brind'Amour said in yesterday's post practice press conference. But diving into tonight's game, folks, the Hurricanes, as I mentioned, have dropped 3 straight games. With that last, they were able to pick up a point, but they ultimately lost in shootout to Columbus, and they're just on a skid right now. And I was hoping that that first loss to the Rangers would have just been a little bump in the road, after winning 11 straight, having that 17-game point streak and all of that. But that's not the case right now. They're in a bit of a skid, and a big thing with that has been their special teams. It has been pretty garbage as of late. Pretty much everyone on the team, feels like special teams needs to improve big time. And one thing, with tonight's game, again, it's not something that I put a lot of stock into, but it's just a weird trend. It's an ESPN Plus game, and the Hurricanes, whenever they're on ESPN and these national broadcasts, they don't play well for the most part. So it's something to consider with this game tonight. Again, not something I put a lot of stock into. I think it's just a weird coincidence, but it is what it is with that. And tonight against the Devils, again, the Hurricanes have dropped 3 straight, but they do still have first place in the Metropolitan Division. And the Hurricanes have won the first 2 meetings of the season against the Devils, with that first one being a really dominant 4-1 win. And then, that second one coming in a shootout as well. And, I think that the Hurricanes, they're going to need to play like a team tonight. And what I mean by that is, something that we've said all season long of no passengers. Like everyone has got to step up with this game tonight, and every game. But you're on this losing skid right now, and they need guys to step up. In that game against Columbus, Max Pacioretty in his second game with the Hurricanes got 2 goals, one of which was a power play goal, which, like we said, the power play hasn't been great. And to have this guy come in is only his second game with the team, net a power play goal, that's going to be important. And again, I hope it wasn't just a flash in the pan. I hope it's something that can continue. I hope it's something that we can rely on him for these power play goals. And Stefan Nazen, with him potentially not playing tonight, again, he's still on the injury report. He was practicing today, but we'll talk more about that later. With your team leader in power play goals potentially being out, you're gonna need guys to step up, and Max Pacioretty doing so quickly, that's gonna be really big. And again, he also had 2 goals, like I said. And the Hurricanes, they have averaged 44 shots in the last 3 games. In these 3 losses. That's a league high, 44 shots. And they've only came away with 9 goals. So your power play needs to step up. Again, you got a guy like Max Petrie coming straight in, and going right at it. We need that to continue, but it can't just be him, or it can't just be Marty Natris or Andrei Svechkov or Jordan Martinook, whoever. It can't just be one guy. They need to play as a team. New Jersey, yeah, they started off really, really good this year. Yeah, and then they kind of dropped off a little bit. I believe they're 6-8-3 in their last since December. So they're not as hot as they were, but they're still second in the division, and they want that first place back. And a big way they could close that gap is by winning tonight. And the Hurricanes are really going to have to play as a team and play that full 60 minutes. That's going to be really big for the team tonight. If they can do that, I think they can be all right. But yeah, there's still a lot of stuff that's going to go into this game. And again, we did get to hear from Rod Brind'Amour after practice yesterday. Morning skate is going on right now. So, you know, we'll see what ends up getting said later on this morning. But again, we did get to hear from Rod yesterday. And this is what Rod had to say yesterday afternoon after practice.
The speed and pace New Jersey plays with, does it remind you a little of what Lindy did with Buffalo back in your playing days?
Oh, not really.
No?
Games changed way different than not long ago, for sure. Everybody's faster now, and everything's quicker. So
But they lean into skill.
they had
pretty
skill,
hard, right?
but I think this is a much better skilled team. I mean, the players they have here, a little different.
We were talking with Sebastian a few minutes ago. He was talking about Jack Hughes. Seems like he's another level this year than he was last year. Do you agree?
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of what we talked about last time we played him. I think he's pushing to be one of the top guys in the league for sure. Every time he gets the puck, there's something dynamic happening with it, and you see the results.
Also with Sebastian, we talked to the way he's played since coming back from his injury. He says he feels like he's got another gear that he wants to reach that he hadn't played quite obviously like he wants to. Have you noticed
Yeah,
that?
I thought he was playing phenomenally up until he got taken out, and it's not that he's been poor coming off. It's just it certainly was noticeable the first 30 games or whatever. And he's played well. Like I said, I think he's assessing it right.
Goals aside, how did you feel Max played in his second game?
Nah, he was fine. I mean, everyone was fine. Everyone was good. We had a solid game. It just a couple breakdowns and just didn't go our way. But he was good. I think it's probably what I anticipated was going to happen. Is that adrenaline in the first game is good. Now it's starting to level out a bit. But I think the more he gets comfortable with how we do things, I think the better he'll be.
So you shuffled around the power play units a little bit. Is there anything in particular you're looking for, or are you just trying to find it?
Well, no, today was just more, I went with the lines just to make it easier. So don't really need to read too much into that. Sometimes it's just easier to throw guys out. They're in the same spots on different units. It's the same concept, so it doesn't really matter.
With health coming around here, you're getting pretty close to having full complement of guys. I imagine there's lots of tough decisions you're going to have to make.
Yeah, always. We haven't had to make too many this year because we haven't been healthy, but hopefully we have to make those tough choices. That's what good teams do.
It's pretty, thinking back to years past, maybe when you were an assistant here, thinking about the kind of talent you have on your fourth line now, maybe, or your, what we would call it fourth line, versus in the past, has to be pretty eye-opening.
Well, listen, the last 4 years we've made huge steps and changing our roster, and it's all because now we're paying the players. At the end of the day, that's the facts. We got so you can have good players all up and down your lineup.
All right, thanks, Rob.
Yep.
So obviously, longtime fans will get a chuckle out of what he said there at the end. of how they pay the players now, because obviously the old regime was notoriously cheap and didn't want to pay players. But, you know, the big thing for me, with that game against Columbus was the defensive breakdowns. And yeah, they have got to get that cleaned up. They had it cleaned up for a while, but it's just gotten back bad again. And I think that they I don't know what's going on there. And I know uh people could speculate on a million things of what's going wrong, is terms of these breakdowns that the Hurricanes are having on the back end. So I don't think it's anything to worry about long term. I don't think it's in the same vein as like the power play or anything like that, where it's something that's an issue, like a big issue. I do think they're just having a bit of a skid right now. How we've seen with offense, getting pucks in the back of the net. Heck, they're having that right now. I think it's just uh, a product of the skid they're on, and whenever they can get things back in line, I think we won't have to worry about those as much. And I do think one thing that has hurt those is because they're on such a long winning streak that people are overlooking, some defensive breakdowns and, you know, areas that could have been improved, because at the end of the day they're getting the wins. And that's just the kind of thing that happens, whether it be hockey, football, basketball, baseball, soccer, whatever. If you're winning, things tend to get overlooked a bit, those mistakes. So at the end of the day, I think, the the breakdowns are simply a product of the skid they're on. And once they, get back in a consistent rhythm, they'll be good. Sebastian Aho, again, a guy that, you know, trying to get back to where he was pre-injury. I do think it will happen. I don't think it's anything to worry about. I think it's just one of those things, you're coming off of injury. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get back to where you were. And that's another thing, regardless of the sport, you see that. And again, we're seeing it right now with Sebastian Aho. You see it constantly throughout sports. We could go down giant lists of every league when it comes to that. So again, not something I'm worried about. But the Hurricanes, they got some work to do tonight, and we will continue to talk about what they need to do in tonight's game right after this. Folks, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. If you're wanting to place a bet on tonight's game against the Devils or game later on down the road, BetOnline has you covered, because betonline.net is your number one source for all of your sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, whether it be pro football, basketball, hockey, whatever. BetOnline has you covered. And if you love sports podcasts, which I know you do, you can even find those at BetOnline as well. And they're the fastest and easiest way to get all of your betting info. So head over to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, diving back into what the Hurricanes need to do tonight. And as I mentioned, special teams has been especially bad. And, I think that, with tonight's game, Max Pacioretty being there on the power play, I do think is really good. And I think that is something that they need to continue to roll with, whether or not Stefan Nazen is playing. He was initially on the injury report, but coming out of morning skate, everyone was practicing, minus Frederick Anderson. So, I think that if they could have Pacioretty and Nazen there on the power play, I think they would be really I think they'd be set. Obviously other guys need to pull their weight as well, but if with Pacioretty, like Rod Brind'Amour said, it could be like an adrenaline thing. That first game back. Let's hope it's not. And well, obviously it is. It was with that first game. But let's hope that can be sustained and keep going forward, because like if you could have those two guys there, like that would be dangerous, and that's what the Hurricanes need right now, because again, they have generated or averaged 44 shots in the last 3 games, but they've again only came away with 9 goals. You're averaging that many shots a game, you need to be scoring. You remember that one game. Oh god, I think it was the game against the Rangers where they had like 67 shots. Like, oh my god, you do that, you need to be winning the game. And I do think one thing that has been going against the Hurricanes, in those last 3 games is the goaltending. They're making these goalies look like Vezina finalists. With Shesterkin, Saros, and Corpusalo, like they made those guys look like freaking Vezina finalists. With the way they're just shooting and shooting and shooting, which again is an issue I've had for years now. I've mentioned it countless times already this season. They need to shoot to score, not just shoot to shoot. And because again, that 67 shots on goal, yeah, it's a ridiculous number. You shoot that many times, you should be having like 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. You should be like handedly winning the game, but that wasn't the case. And going into tonight's game, we'll know more like officially later. But coming out of morning skate, it's being said that the lines were the same as to what we saw, in the last game against Columbus. Personally, I expected a bit of a shuffle. And we did have a bit of a shuffle, as of late, with Pacioretty coming back in the lineup, Nazen potentially being out, or well, he was out, but so we did have a bit of a shuffle. But I honestly expected them to switch things up a little bit for tonight's game. But it's looking like we're going to be dealing with the same stuff, as we did in Columbus, and with those lines being Pacioretty with Aho and Jarvis, Svechnikov, Stastny, Natchez, Martinook, Stahl, Foss, and Teravainen, Kokniemi, and Stepan. They're on the 4th line. So the 4th line is interesting, with Tavo and Kokniemi being down there. And again, we've said it many, many times, regardless of it's this show, another Hurricanes podcast, Hurricanes, news outlet, everyone knows that, the lines like aren't, we know how Rod Brind'Amour feels about the lines. They're kind of fluid, and whoever's playing the best is going to be out there. And so I don't look too much into Teravainen and Kokniemi being down on the 4th line, but those guys haven't really been great as of late. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like to hear that, especially with Teravainen, but they just aren't, especially Turbo himself, like just not living up to the standards that they themselves have set here. Kokniemi struggling right now, and he's had some moments where he's looked really good. Yeah, he has, but just as a whole, like right now, like they're just not there. So I'm not surprised. Yeah, we've seen Stastny get moved up. He's on, I believe, a 3-game point streak right now. Yeah, 3-game point streak. So of course, he's a hot set of hands right now. It's gonna be going out there, and again, you knew someone was going to get bumped down whenever Pacioretty came into the lineup. We all knew that. And whenever Nazen comes back, if he is tonight, if he does play tonight, you imagine, all right, it's going to bump someone out. And if you were And then when Andre Kasha comes back, that's going to bump someone out. So, this stuff, isn't, you knew it was going to happen. And as Rod Brind'Amour said, these are going to be tough decisions that they're having to make, and, something they haven't had to make a lot this year. And I imagine, it's going to be like this right here. If you're struggling right now, you're going to be bumped down, and, and just going to get to a point where you're getting, sitting up in the press box, being a healthy scratch. That's just what's going to happen, with these guys getting healthy and coming back. So, yeah, I think that they really need everyone to step back up. And it's going to be really interesting going forward whenever all of these guys are healthy, what this lineup is going to look like. And on the defensive side of things, Slavin and Burns, Shea Pesci, and then obviously those are going to be the same. And then now we had Jalen Chatfield and Dylan Coughlin looking like the third pairing for tonight, with Calvin DeHaan being an extra tonight. Nazen, is also looking like he was going to be extra tonight, but you know I really don't think we're going to see him, from everything that I'm gathering from morning skate this morning. So yeah, I'm not surprised, like, with Kotkaniemi and Tara Vining getting bumped down. I'm not surprised with Dahan being uh, an extra because just as of late, he hasn't looked great. So, yeah, you're going to try something else. Try Dylan Coughlin. I really hope, he can get rolling. That'd be really nice, with him, because he at first didn't look great. He was constantly getting scratched, and then getting sent down to Chicago for a conditioning stint. I really want him to be able to really get things together, just like I want Calvin to be able to get things together. But ultimately, we got to get to these games, to see that. And no surprise with between the pipes and it's looking like it's Pyotr Kochetkov. That's what I figured even before morning skate. I figured, all right, he's probably going to be in between the pipes tonight for the Hurricanes. But this isn't all. It's a good lineup tonight. I'm not saying these lines are bad, but I did expect things to get shuffled around a little bit more. Whether it be however they'd want to do it, really. Again, Pacioretty, you figure, he's going to be playing with Sebastian. Do they move Marty Natchez up to the top line? Do they move, Svetch over to the right side on the top line? Like, there's so many things that could be done. Could also move Turbo up. Like, it's it was definitely one I expected some changes for tonight's lineup. I really did. But I don't get paid to make those decisions. So at the end of the day, yeah, the Hurricanes have what it takes to win this game. We all know that. It's just them, all these guys that we just talked about, getting it together and playing as a team. And that's going to be a big key to the game tonight. And we will talk more about the keys to the game for tonight right after this quick break, folks. Now, this episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens is lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy free, or gluten free, and it contains less than 1 gram of sugar with no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, or artificial anything while still tasting good. And it, of course, supports better sleep quality and supports better recovery and mental clarity and alertness. And it's the one thing with the best things. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products on the latest science third part with constant product iterations and third party testing. And multivitamins are important, folks, and tons of people take some kind of multivitamin, and it's important to choose the one with high quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb. AG1 is a small micro habit with big benefits. It's one thing you can do every single day to take good care of yourself. And your subscription comes with a year's supply of vitamin D, which also is so important to add into these winter months as we don't get much sunlight. You can see it in me, not as tan as I was, looking a little pale and pasty. So, right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1 year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Now, folks, these keys to the game, we've kind of touched on them already throughout the episode, but I do want to lay them out right here, right now. And, big thing that everyone is talking about is clean up the special teams. Yeah, in that game against Columbus, we got 2 power play goals, from one from Max Petrie, one from Brady Shea. Brady Shea getting 2 power play goals in a year in this economy? What the heck? But, it's that's jokes aside, that's something they really got to do. Score on the power play. Yeah, you did good in Columbus, but your penalty kill sucked and it has really sucked as of late. So they really got to clean up their special teams, power play, and penalty kill. That is going to be essential, not only for this game against New Jersey, but the next game, the game after that, and the game after that, and the game after that. They have got to get the special teams together, the big time. Whether you win this game or not, whether you go to overtime or not, or shootout or not, like special teams has to be cleaned up. Like that is going to be key, win or lose tonight for the Hurricanes. And another thing that I think is going to be really essential for them to come away with the win, something that we've talked about already, with the performance of the goalies they faced over these last 3 games, is to rattle whoever New Jersey has in net early and do not let them get settled in and get into a rhythm. And because if they do that, it's going to be more of the same as it has been over these last 3 games. Again, average 44 shots in these last 3 games, have only came away with 9 goals total. And, again, Shesterkin, Saros, and Korpisalo, I mean, massive props to them, for getting the wins for their respective teams, whenever they're facing that many shots. Like, it's hard work. And, at the end of the day, like I said, they've got to rattle whoever it is, for New Jersey tonight, because I've said it before, they they have sometimes, let these opposing goalies settle in, get in a rhythm, and then, game's over. I go back to whenever Detroit was here last year, it was Ned's second game back, and it is the one where he got a shutout here. And I, said to my girlfriend pretty early on, I want to say it was shortly in the beginning of the second period, I believe it was, uh, that the game was over because, having watched Ned for so long, tell him, all right, he's in a rhythm. This game is over. Like he's not. Yeah, he may let in 1 goal or so, but he obviously didn't even do that. I knew pretty much early on that it was over. He was in a rhythm. The Hurricanes couldn't get anything past him, and they were struggling. And yeah. I mean, that's just how it was, and they cannot let that happen tonight with New Jersey, also coming off of a big overtime win themselves and, trying to look to get some momentum back, get that first place back in the division. Like they're going to do the same. They're going to try to rattle likely Pyotr Kochetkov, and You can't do that tonight. The Hurricanes got to come out swinging and stay swinging the entire 60 minutes, and that brings me to my next point: play the full 60 minutes. My God, it has been so frustrating. Obviously, over these losses, but just in general this season, like this should not still be an issue. Like, play the full 60 minutes. Like I just said, stay swinging the entire game. Don't let up. Don't take your foot off the gas. Eh, with the way things have been going for the Hurricanes out of late, they need to play a full 65 minutes. And I'm not even joking about going into overtime. They need to put 110% into this game, and it is, while that may feel a bit exaggerated, and it is a little bit, but you can't you can't expect to win games constantly and not play the full 60 minutes. Yeah, about the only way you're going to get away with that is if like you have a lead like Georgia did over TCU last night. They could have, well, they did, kind of take their foot off the gas, there towards the end because it was so locked up. You know, that's the only way, you're gonna be able to not play the full 60 minutes, and the Hurricanes, they can't do that tonight. They cannot do that. It's not sustainable. I said it early in the year, when they're constantly winning from behind of having to come back. It's not sustainable, just like it's not sustainable to, only play, 2 periods or 2.5 periods or anything like that. It's not sustainable. They've got to play the full 60 minutes, and they have, also got to play as a team. And I said earlier, we need guys stepping up. You guys are coming back from injury. Let's see these guys. Really. Whenever they're slotting into lineup like Dylan Coughlin tonight, let's see him take advantage of it. Let's see him go out there and have a good game. Some of these other guys that have been struggling. We talk about Tavo and Kotniemi. Let's see them step up, being like, hey, move me back up to my normal spot. I play like you want that second line center spot. Play like you want that first line wing spot. You know, play like that. And Jordan Stahl said it best early in the year: no passengers. That's going to be really big. And no passenger, full team game, full 60 minutes. If they do that, I think they're able to win this game. And you got guys, quietly, doing what they can to step up. We talked about Paul Stastny earlier, having a 3-game point streak. Brady Shea scoring on the power play again. He also had an assist in that game against Columbus. Max Pacioretty coming straight in, 2 goals right away. And then we also have Brent Burns, quietly, having a really good run right now. 14 points in 17 games. He's stepping up on the offensive side of things. He does need to clean things up defensively, but we need everyone to really step up. Some of these guys that are rolling right now. Marty Natchez, he was held off the score sheet in that game against Columbus, but he's coming off of a 7-game point streak. Let's see some of these guys lift each other up and really get things going of not having this offense and power play looking like a dry Thanksgiving turkey. And I think that it's going to be big, and they're going to have their work cut out for them tonight. Big time. And I think, that New Jersey's kind of coming in with a bit of chip on their shoulder. They're wanting their first place back, and they're going to come out swinging like they're ready to go. And, you got guys on that team that know this team. Dougie Hamilton knows a lot of guys on these teams, knows how to play them. And Eric Holla, he's tends to be a bit of a villain for the Hurricanes. Ever since he left, no matter who he's playing for, he's a bit of a villain, bit of a menace for the Hurricanes, and they're gonna have to be able to be ready for all this. And I think they will be. But at the end of the day, we got to get to the game tonight. And yeah, I'm excited for it. Again, this is also Ice Caps night, or well, North Carolina night, but they're going to be wearing the Raleigh Ice Caps jerseys for warmups, and we'll talk more about the history of the Ice Caps later on in the week because I'll be honest, I forgot that game was tonight. But it's going to be really cool, especially for a lot of the older fans that were around to remember the Ice Caps back in the 90s. Before the Hurricanes came here, the city's old ECHL team that played in Dorton Arena, about a mile from PNC. It's going to be really cool, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think there's going to be a lot of cool um, stuff at tonight's game, aside from the jerseys, some of the merchandise. They've already put out a cool interview with some of the old players. So, and we'll talk about more. We'll talk more about that article later on in the week. Whenever we have some more time to dissect it, and look at these jerseys because I'm excited for it. And I know a lot of people on social media are excited for it as well. So make sure, if you're there tonight, take pictures of those worn up jerseys because they're going to be super, super cool. And we'll talk more about those warm up jerseys and tonight's game in tomorrow's episode. So make sure you are following the show on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes, following myself on Twitter at Jared Ellis _96, and subscribe to the show on YouTube if you aren't already. And I will talk to you in tomorrow's episode. Folks, enjoy the game tonight, and let's go Canes.